Hey there, it's David H. Lawrence the 17th. One of the videos I recently did was on the disparity between the amount of money that radio makes on advertising and the amount of money that podcasting makes on advertising, considering how much share of our listening each has. And I got a question right after that saying, hey, I want a podcast, but is advertising the only way that you can make money on podcasting? I mean, I keep hearing about all this stuff and it's like, I don't know who would want to advertise on my show. It's a great question. And the answer is no, hardly. There are lots and lots of ways to make money with podcasts. And what I thought I'd do is, in the spirit of giving away my best stuff, this is taken from part 2 of my Mastering Audio Podcasting classes, which are part of the VO to Go curriculum. And it's on monetizing. So let's talk about this. First of all, advertising is a great way to make money if you have a listener base that will attract an advertiser. But if you don't, it's kind of hard to scare up advertisers in general who want to advertise on your show. So there's a couple of different ways to make money with podcasts in terms of types. One is direct monetization, where somebody pays you a fee for doing something involving the podcast. And then the other is indirect monetization, where the podcast serves a purpose that may not be direct remuneration, but may lead to other ways of making money. So let's talk about direct monetization first. Advertising, absolutely. And this is kind of like anybody who wants to advertise on your podcast can. But again, as I said, you need to have the numbers. And if you don't have the numbers and you don't have somebody to sell the advertising, if not you, it's hard to get ads. Then there's sponsorship. Now, sponsorship is different from ads in that sponsorship is usually a direct response kind of thing where, this podcast is brought to you by so-and-so, and, they're not looking for an ROI that deals with the number of sales. They're looking to give you the gift of being able to do your podcast. That's one way of doing it. And then there's brand sponsorship, which basically is making the brand aware to the listeners or viewers of your podcast. Again, without actually selling a product, more institutional thing. So there's a slight difference between advertising and sponsorship, but again, they're both based on the number of listeners that you have. And so they're hard to attract when you're first getting started. Now, another way to do it is crowdfunding. You can go on Kickstarter, you can go on GoFundMe, you can go on Indiegogo. You can say, hey, we're going to be doing this new podcast. We're going to do the first 5 episodes beginning, this winter. And we'd love to have you as one of our initial funders to help us get started. And there's no expectation that you have a certain audience level. They are basically giving you money to get you started, usually because they trust you or because they like you or because they are attracted to the concept, the product, or the topic or the service that you're going to be talking about. So that's another one, crowdfunding. Donations. Now, via Patreon or Kickstarter, you can take donations, have a tip jar. Say, look, if you like what you're hearing, please, pay for a cup of coffee for us. And it's kind of a hat in hand. Hey, I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice woman. Take care of me, that kind of thing. But it can be very lucrative if you have a huge base. Once you get to the point where a tip jar or, donations, excuse me, are actually making some serious money, you should look at whether or not you can now attract advertisers, because that means a lot of people are watching you. You can sell swag. Another way to make money is to sell swag, t-shirts and buttons and stickers and, who knows what with the logo of your podcast. And then finally, in direct monetization, membership or subscription models. And it's not about gaining access to the actual podcast itself. We did that with Secrets of Screen Acting. We only allowed people who had paid us $10 a month to get these really great tips on acting. And now Patrick and I sell the whole archive of 300 episodes over at secretsofscreenacting.com, which we'll get to in indirect. But we had a subscription model. You subscribe for $10 a month. We do 20 episodes, 25-minute episodes a month, and you and only you as a subscriber would get that. There's other ways of taking care of membership and subscriptions. If you join a membership or if you join as a subscriber, you get early access to the podcasts. Maybe they come out a few days earlier, and then the general public gets them that don't pay to be in the membership. Or maybe you do exclusive episodes where you only do an episode for members. Or ad-free. Maybe you have ads in the episode, but if somebody signs up to be a member or a subscriber, then they get the podcast without the ads inside. So there's a number of different ways to skin that cat in terms of membership and subscribers, but you can see already, and we haven't even gotten into the indirect stuff, you can see already that there's a lot of different ways to make money with podcasts. So let's talk about indirect. Maybe you're using a podcast to attract a tribe. And so you're building your list. So in your podcast, you say, hey, sign up for my newsletter. You can do so with a link below. You're building a list that is akin to what you're talking about. So for example, I could build a list of interested voiceover or on-camera performers or marketers or efficiency fanatics, people that want to be productive. I could build that. Leads or paid clients. Often people do podcasts because they want to show authority. They want to build authority. And when they do that, when they show people that they know what they're talking about, they can attract leads for the work that they do, for the practice that they have. They can attract paying clients by doing a free podcast. Repurposing the content. So again, like what we did with Secrets of Screen Acting, we didn't know we were going to repurpose the content, but we ended up doing it because it was a direct shot. We took all of these episodes that we had done live, that we'd done over the course of the months that we had the podcast up and running, and we put them all together in a package that we now sell for just shy of $300. It's about $1 an episode. For actors who really want to take their work to the next level when it comes to on-camera working. And you can do the same thing. Maybe you're repurposing a content because you're doing parts of lessons of a course. Maybe you do those free and you kind of work things out as you do the free podcast. Then you take the podcast down and you sell those as individual lessons. So repurposing content can be a great way of making money. It has nothing to do with advertising. Community building and foundation support. Maybe you're working for a community service organization or a foundation that has a mission and your podcast is akin to that mission. So maybe you're talking about, drinkable water around the world and how hard it is for some nations to get that, how hard it is for some cities in the United States to find drinkable water. And maybe Charity Water will be a sponsor for you. I don't know. But it's not necessarily sponsorship in terms of selling something, but it's more of a foundation or a community support, more of a public service kind of thing. And then finally, and this is number 10, we've gone through 9. Number 10 is live events. So maybe you're going to do a concert, you're a musician, or you're a part of a band, or you're a speaker, or you are someone who runs an organization that does live meetings or webinars or seminars, and you're using the podcast to create a demand for going to this live event, whether it's online or in person. And you can use a webinar to, again, build authority and to build authenticity and to build a tribe who then you say, hey, I'm going to do this live event. You want to join me? Here's how you get tickets to this live event. So there's lots of different ways to monetize podcasts. And by the way, there's an 11th option, and that is just doing it for the experience, for the fun. It's a different currency. The currency is experience and exposure. You can do that as well. But when we're talking about monetizing, you're not monetizing with money per se, which is kind of an oddity. You're monetizing with people finding out about you, people finding out what you're like, people becoming familiar with your art or with your work or with your approach, right? So there's lots of different ways to take a podcast and make it work for you other than just doing great content. I hope that's helped. If you've thought about doing a podcast, are all of these things that you've already thought about? Are any of these new to you? If you're doing a podcast, how are you actually monetizing your podcast? Tell me what you're doing. Tell me how things are going. I'd love to find out. I don't have anything that I'm selling with this podcast. I'm not going to ask you to join my list. unless you want to join my list to be notified when these episodes are available. This isn't really a podcast, but it could be. It could be a video podcast. It's just a series. It's just a challenge that I'm doing, one a day, to get really good at doing these, to get agile at doing this kind of work. And by the way, in just a few episodes, I'm going to do an episode where I basically show you the path, the workflow that I do to put these together from the start to the finish. I'm going to show you everything that I do to get it ready for you to see every day. All right. So if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, go ahead and click on my face there. If there's no face there, you're watching on a mobile device, so find a subscribe button. You want to see the latest episode, click on that frame. YouTube will play it for you. I'm David H. Lawrence, the 17th. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.